All right, we're back with our special guest, Tim Harridge, and we're just talking about, at the break here, we were talking about financial education. And in America these days, Tim said something, he's like, it's all screwed up. They teach you how to add, they just don't teach you what to add,
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's funny. We had Robert Kiyosaki in here last week, and we were sitting down, he was a guest on our show, and he if you don't know who he is, he wrote that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he sold 30 million copies around the world. And it's a real eye-opener, when he said, your home is not an asset. It really shocked. He got a lot of realtors pissed off at him.
Yeah.
That are clamoring for that. But, people realize today their home is not an asset. Your home is not an asset. Now, Tim's homes are assets because they're rental properties and they make money for him. But your home that you live in, that's a big fat liability.
It is.
Simply because it costs you money. That's just why. And Americans, that's their number one so-called, if you could see me, I'm making quotation here, asset is their home. And they just don't get it, You could take that same money and invest it in assets. And that's Richard's big thing, is just to find assets and to get your cash flow coming in, so that you don't have to have a job. But people, you go to college for 5 years to get your MBA. By the time you graduate, 90% of it's irrelevant or outdated, and and the more focused you get on things like that, the less flexible you are for other things. So, the nice thing, the reason I got Tim on here is because Tim's a super investor. He's done thousands of houses, and he believes in sharing his education or what he's learned with other people so that they can do this, so that they can invest in real estate, so that they can find ways to replace, their 401ks that might not work in the future when you want to retire, And he's got a really big event coming up here. It's called the Real Estate Investors Expo. He only does it once a year, and there's hundreds of people that come through there. He doesn't allow any of the speakers, any of the people that are teaching classes to sell any of their products while they're presenting. It's 100% education. There's not a bunch of guys trying to sell seminars and books and stuff like that. Why don't you tell us about this event coming up, because I'm really excited about it.
Well, Kurt, it's modeled after, I was telling you about what got me into real estate earlier, and I'll never forget one night when I was still working in life insurance. I was up late watching TV, so I saw an infomercial, and it looked really neat. So I think I paid $400 or $500, and I got a box full of stuff shipped to my house, and I was ready. I was going to tear through it. I spent about 10 minutes actually trying to figure out which package in the box to open up first. And it ended up going into my closet, and it stayed there. And I think one day I gave it to Goodwill or something of that nature. And so what I did is I went to a local investor club. And as you know, I see you at almost all of them because I still go. And there was just this plethora of people that were willing to take you under their wing and tell you how to do things and tell you what not to do and what you should do. And some of them charged and some of them didn't, but it was just amazing to me. It really felt like a brotherhood, if you will, of people like even yourself. Although you're in the business of loaning money and of selling houses, if you educate, we all learn this at the early stage of this business. If you educate people along the way, they'll be clients for life. If you just try to rake them over the coals, get their cash out of them, then one, you end up having to hire, reputation.com. And then two, you end up, you're always striving for new customers. So what I did is after I was a home investor franchisee and we had an annual convention. And I loved that because it was once a year, every December, hundreds of investors from around the nation. We all got together and told our war stories, and we went to classes all day. And then, you talk about people full of themselves. You sit around the bar at the hotel that night, and then,
We're going to talk about some of your war stories in a couple segments here, so pay attention if you're listening. Go on.
And so I missed that. So what happened is last year, 2010, I called a friend of mine, Arnie Abramson, the co-founder, and Arnie's big in the speaker circuit here in Dallas, and I just told Arnie, I said, I want to have an event. And he said, okay, great. Well, you're going to have an event? I said, and we came up with the Real Estate Investor Expo. So what it is, it's a 2-day venue of classes. And like you said, it's educational. Now, yes, most of the speakers do have a product or service that they could make money if they helped you with it. But the classes are educational. It's not jumping up and down on the stage, run to the back of the room, buy my latest, greatest book and tape. Yeah. It's meant to, there's 6 different classes running every hour and a half. You get to pick which class you go to. You're one of the speakers. Your partner Stuart is one of the speakers. And it's just designed to educate and either help people break that barrier of entry into this industry, or to help them further themselves along down the road.
Sounds like a great place to just go if you're new, or if you're experienced in investing, and just kind of learn. Great place to find a mentor too, or like-minded individuals, things like that. Where do they find more information about that event? And when is it? Why don't you tell everyone?
The event's next Saturday.
Okay.
January 28th, and the Sunday, January 29th. It's a 2-day event. The listeners can go to reiexpo.com, and that's REI, like real estate investor, expo.com, and they can find out all the information about the attendance options. You can just go one day, or you can buy a 2-day ticket, and they can use the code NEWWEST to get a 20% discount. And it's all the information, all the classes are there online.
All right, the New West. That's our. If you're interested in learning about real estate, someplace you can go where you can see properties that are for sale, watch videos of other investors, their interviews of what they did, what they made successful before and after videos. You can visit thenewwest.com. It's just like the Old West, but new. thenewwest.com.